A warning tonight about housing scams in Philadelphia with predatory home buying is on the rise. Joining me now is Kate Dugan, who is an attorney at Community Legal Services of Philadelphia, plus Tonnetta Graham, the president of Strawberry Mansion CDC, is also here with us. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us about the organization first before we jump into some good details. So you want to make sure, you might want to get some pencils and paper to write this stuff down, but tell us about the organization.
So Community Legal Services, where I'm an attorney, is a nonprofit legal services organization. We represent Philadelphians in a variety of legal issues. We don't charge for our services. We also are leaders in a lot of policy work, just trying to find solutions to problems people are having. And that's what we do. And so I'm an attorney in the home ownership and consumer rights unit, and we assist people who are homeowners, but we have a lot of other units too. It's a pretty broad range of what we do.
Great. And I'm Tonnetta. I am the executive director of the Strawberry Mansion Community Development Corporation. And Strawberry Mansion is a neighborhood in North Central Philadelphia. So what we do is we advocate on behalf of our families and our residents in the neighborhood. We do residential and commercial revitalization, historic preservation, as well as empowering our residents. And this is one of the major issues that are facing our residents today. So I'm glad to be here to talk about it.
Well, we're looking forward to getting some good information. So tell us about the scam and how is it hurting the local Philadelphians?
Well, you want to start?
Yeah, so as a backdrop, historically Philadelphia has had a really high rate of home ownership. It is unusually high. We beat a lot of other cities in the rate of home ownership as opposed to renters. Unfortunately, in 2017, Philadelphia flipped from a majority homeowner city to a majority renter city. And we're worried about this because owning a home, like it or not, is one of the ways you build wealth in America. It's one of the ways you grow what you're worth, and it's one of the ways you can pass on things to the next generation. So you're going to hear the word intergenerational wealth a lot. And what we're worried about is, like, why are people selling their houses? Like, what's going on? Can they not stay in their houses for certain reasons? Are they being pressured to buy? And so one of the things we found is that investors who are seeing that Philadelphia property values are on the rise are swooping in and trying to buy properties, and whatever equity people have built up is leaving the community. I'm really concerned about that.
And a community such as Strawberry Mansion, we are an older community, and we're in between two neighborhoods that have been gentrified. So the angst is there for homeowners to want to stay. Our housing stock is pretty old, so there's some remedies that need to take place. And a lot of the times these folks, they prey on the conditions of folks' houses, whether they're in tax delinquent status or whether the home is just in disrepair. So a lot of our seniors are especially holding on to their homes. Most of the folks who are living in Strawberry Mansion now, we are at our home ownership rate is between 45 to 48%. And for us to be considered a low wealth community, that's great. We're primarily African American community, about 92% African American. And so we own our homes, but they don't value them as much. And because of our location, we're very vulnerable to some of these predatory practices that these companies use.
What are some other areas that you see a high volume of this happening?
So we're seeing this in a lot of neighborhoods in Philadelphia. I live out in Germantown. We're seeing it there. We're seeing it in a lot of neighborhoods where there's easy access to public transportation. It's close to downtown. People are being priced out of Rittenhouse Square, and the property values in these convenient neighborhoods are going up.
Wow. Yeah. So what should people be looking for?
In terms of selling their house or trying to decide how to sell their house, I think they should be looking for resources. And I know Tonnetta and I both work for organizations that help people stay in their community if they want to.
Right.
And I think that a lot of this is the signs, which I think there's a picture of, are super annoying. And so even if somebody isn't feeling pressured, even if you're not a vulnerable community member, they're just annoying and they're not nice to look at. And there's poles with, those weird, they're not even nails, they're like washers, put into the poles and into trees. And it's just, it's really irritating.
So when people are driving down the road, they're seeing flyers. Are they coming in the mail? Or is it just
Well,
kind of being
hey,
pasted?
Yes, we have collections.
This is what I get like in a week. Okay, in a week's time for owners trying to purchase my property, and again, most of them, the language is nice at first, and then after a while, the language starts to get a little tougher. Like, this is your third notice. Like, why haven't you called me back? You should be talking to me about your house. I'm like, and I remember at a community meeting, one of my seniors came up to me and they showed me this, and I was like, oh my gosh. And she was like, I tried to call, but they haven't returned my call. I was like, you do not have to call them about your house. So one of the things that we want people to understand is, if you want to sell your house, that's your prerogative, as you can do that. But we want to make sure that you go and you get a good price for your house, that you're not just underselling because folks are putting pressure on you to sell. I mean, they get very creative. They take pictures of your house and their phone calls. A lot of us are really concerned about the door knockers count when they hang it on your door, because scammers are getting pretty savvy, and folks can kind of time that. Okay, well, this thing has been on this door for like 5 hours, so maybe they're not home, and so we are really paying attention to what's happening with these notices that are coming in the mail.
All right, so these are some of the things that people are actually getting in the mail, and it's one of the scare tactics that you ladies are sharing, how it's saying, do not pay for repair. So they're trying to prey on the weakness of someone who may not be able to afford repairs. So if someone gets this and they can't afford repairs, what is your suggestion?
Well, there are programs out there for someone who needs their house in repair. The program is called Basic System Repairs. I know, like years ago, the list was forever.
It's so much better now.
Yeah, it's so much better now because the city thankfully have put some more money or some more funds into it. So it's income eligible. So you just have to contact organizations like the CDC or the city to find out if you're eligible, and then get your name on that list. They'll come out and just like it says, it's basic systems. So we're talking roofs, we're talking electricity, we're talking windows and doors. And for those folks who don't qualify because of the income guidelines, there's also a loan program that the city council just passed. Restore?
Yeah, so it's called Restore, Repair, Renew.
Yep.
You can borrow up to $25,000, 3% interest, which is really great interest rate.
Yeah.
And there are income guidelines, and your credit score can actually be unusually low. So if somebody who might not be able to do a conventional refinance or home equity loan would probably qualify for this program.
So the bottom line is, if you need help in repairing your home, just reach out, call someone, let folks know that you need this assistance. There is assistance out there.
Yeah, and these repair estimates that they're putting on the postcards are really misleading too. I mean, those are scary numbers. I see those numbers. I'm like, I can't afford $50,000 in my house. That's not necessarily what's going on.
They have $6,000 just for your lawn.
Right,
Really?
right. Like, I don't have.
Can't we just get some
This isn't my
seeds and
house,
work
but
it
right,
out?
like we live in row houses. We don't have lawns.
Right.
Yeah, but somebody
Good
who
point.
doesn't. Right, like, but I'm not. If you don't put together a spreadsheet of like $25,000 kitchen, what does that mean? Like, maybe your kitchen is fine. But these are big numbers, and then they use these numbers to sort of assess your house and say, here's what it's worth, and we'll just take it off your hands so you don't have to deal with the burden of the repair. And that's really predatory and misleading, we think.
So we also have this specific one that says urgent notice, contact me, I want to buy your property. So if someone says, what do I do? What are their options when they get this one that says, you need to call me because you need to sell me your property?
Well, here's one of the things. You try calling that number and see what happens. You'll be lucky if you get a response. So one of the things that we're noticing is when folks do, try to look into to see the legitimacy of it all, is, they get different phone numbers, you get referred to someone else is going to call you, and it's a whole web of that they have set up here.
It's amazing. I almost brought a chart of how these, but it's too complicated. You don't even want to see it. It's like the process to get to the person who's buying it is complicated, and then on the back end, like the person you sit down and sign the agreement of sale with is not the person who's buying your property. They're assigning the right to buy the property. They're selling the right, and there's fees associated with that. So trying to pin down who is the actual investor or person is really, really hard, because it's this weird group of people, and it's really hard to tell who's doing what, which makes it even tougher to fight against this.
So if you could give us some examples of some of the tactics that you're seeing in addition to the flyers and postcards.
Yeah, so
Phone calls, like,
yeah,
you
phone
know,
calls.
I did the, you know, you're supposed to have what you have, a do not call list. I mean, they get your number, your cell phone number too.
Right.
And, you know, so they'll call, oftentimes, you know, I had a couple of phone calls where folks was like, well, hey, you know, so friendly, you know, I called you, left you a message, you didn't call me back. And I'm like, well, do I have to call you back? So, you know, the phone calls, like I said, the door knockers, they are offering, they have finder's fees out for folks, who are, maybe there's like heir properties out there that, you know, where the title may be questionable, so they'll, like, you know, find one of the heirs and, you know, slide them some money and make some agreements with them, and then next you know, you have a whole, you know, system of, you know, well, who owns what and who's allowed to sell
Here's
what.
my 25%. I
Yes.
sold my 25%.
Heir properties are their whole own
Absolutely.
problem. We have help for that too. The city has a Tangle Title Fund. Community legal services and other organizations will help with when we say tangle title property, we mean a property you're living in and the deed isn't in your name, which can be the case for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Mostly it's because you've inherited, you know, maybe your parents' home and you never went through that process of probate because it's expensive and confusing. We can help with that. And one of the other things I've seen is I've had clients who have been visited in person. You know, and these people are friendly and they build a relationship by coming out 1 or 2 times, and then actually going into the person's living room, and that's where a lot of these deals are done. And there's something, you know, very predatory about coming into somebody's home and putting something in front of their face, and maybe they're a senior and they can't see well enough to read it. Maybe they, you know, English isn't their native language. We've seen all sorts of situations where, you know, somebody truly just didn't understand what they were signing.
So in addition to the flyer or the postcard that has the amounts, like this amount for your kitchen, this amount for your bathroom, you can't really afford that. When they get in there, are they actually walking around their house and doing that?
Yeah, they're looking around, and you know, I don't know if they're coming out and saying I am an appraiser, but they're giving the impression that they're the people qualified to say, well, that roof's going to cost you $8,000. Can you afford that? And, you know, the answer might be it's not going to cost you that, and the answer might be that Basic Systems Repair will help you with that cost.
And the key thing that Kate mentioned was, you know, these are not licensed professionals. Like, they're not licensed realtors, you know, and they may not be, you know, I don't know what their certifications are in terms of appraisals. So, you know, you're taking a risk because you're not sure if you're getting a proper certified person to come doing an appraisal, and definitely, you know, not a licensed realtor. So
Right, and what Tonnetta said is really important. They're not licensed realtors. So like attorneys, realtors are subject to all sorts of ethical rules. If you're a realtor and you mislead somebody or you do something predatory, you get in big trouble with the licensing board. These guys are not subject to those rules. So they're sort of flying under what we've,
Right.
as a society, decided is an acceptable way to interact with somebody selling their house. And that's also really concerning because they're just, you can't complain about them in the same way you could complain if a realtor were scamming you.
Who or what properties are high targets?
So definitely properties that need repairs, properties in neighborhoods like Strawberry
Yeah.
Mansion, tax delinquent properties, properties where there's a lot of property taxes owed or water bills owed or other high, you know, liens on your properties. I think those are properties owned by seniors, Tangle Title, where, you know, you can convince somebody it's just not worth the effort to go through probate. We'll do it for you. We'll make it easy. So all of those, I think, would put the house into a higher value, higher target category.
So you stated that there are some ways to get funding or money for repairs. What about the tax situation?
Yeah. So when I'm not when I'm not being annoyed by signs all over my neighborhood, I'm a property tax lawyer. So my job is to help you figure out how to afford your property taxes. And the city has what's called the Owner-Occupied Payment Agreement, which we call UPA, and that is an income-based repayment plan for your property taxes. So if you are living in a house and you owe, you know, 10 years of property taxes, and you say, I can't get out from under this, I'm going to lose my house. There is a plan for that. There is a program for that, and it's income-based. And it's really friendly. Like the lowest payment under this plan is $0 a month. And you will not lose your house to property tax foreclosure. And if you get a notice of property tax foreclosure, Community Legal Services is there in court to help you. So yeah, there's for all of these problems, there are solutions.
And the challenge is connecting people to these programs, connecting people to these resources. A lot of times, you know, some folks may find just navigating that whole system of going down to City Hall, the MSP building,
Right.
you know, you go to this place, that place, that place, and, you know, they just like, you know, I'll deal with it later. But the bottom line is now is we're in a critical situation here where housing is very, very important. The issue is just with the lack of affordable housing. We always say the most affordable house now, and especially in Shorey Mansion, is the house that you live in now. So let's try to keep you there. So it's important for folks to connect to the city, you know, agencies like CDCs. We have a NAC in our community. You can connect to us so we can make sure that you are connected to these programs. And it's like leaving money on the table, right? And we tell folks, why leave the money on the table? If you're eligible for it, now's the time to tap into it.
So with your different organizations, what are the tactics that you are using to make people aware?
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things we're doing is we're going out into the communities. If you go to Community Legal Services website, I think starting in about a week, we will have a webpage on this issue, and we'll say, how do you tell if somebody's a scammer? Because it's hard to tell if, you know, this urgent notice versus a court notice from the city, like which one do you believe? So it's it's educating community members, it's, you know, partnering with CDCs,
Yes.
And other community organizations to help people figure out who to trust. It's, you know, showing up in court to be a support system for people.
So I know that you guys have your heart. I believe you have a flyer here.
Oh,
just to kinda
yes.
give people an idea. Let me see with you. So this is actually something that Strawberry Mansion is using to bring awareness. So when you see this strawberry with the muscles and the heart, this is representing the people that they want to stay in their homes. So our houses are not for sale is what.
Right.
So how did you guys come up with this idea?
Well, I want to just thank CLS for connecting with us, the Strawberry Mansion CDC, because it's such a timely effort. Because as we were doing this, when they contacted me, I was like, hey, guess what we did? Guess what we did in our neighborhood? So we were just trying to find what kind of recourse could we have, because again, our seniors were feeling pressured, you know, homeowners were feeling pressured, and at a community meeting, the residents just said, listen, we need to let people know that we are not going to sell our house. We survived the 60s and the riots, we survived the crack era, we survived the neighborhood transformation initiative when a lot of our buildings were demoed. So we want to be part of the revitalization. So they don't want to sell. So they came up with a hashtag Shorey Mansion Strong, hashtag Stop Forced Sales, hashtag Save Our Homes. And, you know, this was my little...
So before we wrap it up, what are some tips that they could use to protect themselves real quick?
So the first thing I would say is, you know, we want to encourage you to, if you want to stay in your house, hang in there. There's help. We can help you. Tonnetta's organization can help you. But if you want to sell your house, like some people want to sell their house. Maybe you want to retire to North Carolina because you have grandkids there. Work with a realtor. And so the way that you can kind of conceptualize this is one of these, I'm calling them predatory home buyers, wants to buy your house for as little as possible. They want as little as possible so they can turn around and flip it and make as big a profit as possible. With a real estate agent or a realtor, the realtor works on commission. So they want you to sell your house for as much as possible. So like that difference, we want you to have that equity. We don't want the investor to have that equity. So a tip would be, you know, think critically about whether you want and should stay in your house. And if you decide to stay, we can help. And if you decide to sell, be smart about it. And so the slogan we're using is, before you sell, get your intel. Do your research, do your homework, and that's tough. You know, a lot of seniors don't have access to the internet to look, and you know, it's hard to figure out market value. But there are ways to do that.
All right, we're getting ready to wrap it up. Please give your information for contact.
Sure. So we are the Strawberry Mansion CDC. We're located at 2829 West Diamond. Our number is 215-235-7505. Website, www.strawberrymansioncdc.org. Feel free to call us. There are CDCs and neighborhood NACs all across the city. You can also dial City's 311 number if you are, you know, don't know what neighborhood organization to go to. But please reach out and connect to the resources.
All right.
And so Community Legal Services is located at 1410 West Erie Avenue. It's at the corner of Broad and Erie. We have intake hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Our website is clsphilly.org. If you have any housing-related questions, the best place to call is the Save Your Home Philly hotline, which is 215-334-4663.
All right, well, thank you, ladies. And that's all we have for tonight's show for PhillyCAM Voices. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.